Red Dead Redemption 2 set a bar that most games are still struggling to reach. A world so alive, it felt like it was breathing. A story so emotional, it genuinely hurt. Details so deep that players are still discovering things years after release. It didn't just raise the standard for open-world RPGs, it completely redefined what a video game could be. But here's the thing, there are games out there that come remarkably close to that same feeling, that same sense of total immersion, that same perfect balance of stunning world, compelling story, and gameplay that never gets old. You just have to know where to look. Today, we've done that work for you. These are 20 open-world RPGs that match Red Dead Redemption 2's level of greatness. And if RDR2 is your gold standard, every single one of these belongs on your list. Let's get into it. Here's the question Horizon Zero Dawn asks you. What happened to the Earth? Because you wake up in this lush, overgrown world filled with tribes living off the land, and also robot dinosaurs. Giant mechanical creatures that hunt, that graze, that flock together, that make ecosystems. And your job as Aloy is to hunt them, understand them, and slowly unravel the mystery of how the world got like this. That mystery? It's one of the best reveals in gaming. I'm not going to spoil it, but by the time you get to the end and all the pieces click together, you will just sit there for a moment. The open world is stunning. The story earns every twist, and Aloy is one of the great protagonists of this era. Start here if you haven't. No magic, no dragons, no chosen one prophecy. Just you, a blacksmith's son named Henry, trying to survive in 15th century Bohemia while a war tears the country apart. Kingdom Come: Deliverance II is the most real open-world RPG I've ever touched. Sword combat isn't button mashing, it's footwork, timing, stamina, knowing when to lock swords and when to break. You actually have to learn to read, train to fight, manage your reputation in every village you enter. And the world is so historically accurate, it almost feels like you're playing through a history documentary. If you ever thought Red Dead Redemption 2 had great attention to detail, Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 will make your jaw drop. It does for medieval Europe what Red Dead Redemption 2 did for the American West. If you thought Ghost of Tsushima set the bar, Sucker Punch just came back last year and raised it. Ghost of Yotei is set 300 years later in Eizo, what's now Hokkaido, and it is stunning. We're talking Mount Yotei dominating the horizon. Wildflower fields, frozen rivers, autumn forests that look unreal on PS5. You play as Atsu, a mercenary hunting down the 6 killers who wiped out her family. It's a revenge story, but it's also a story about healing, and that balance is handled beautifully. The combat is more refined, the world is bigger, and Sucker Punch added so much texture to exploration. Hot springs, shaman-sen performances, sumie painting. It won Adventure Game of the Year for a reason. Incredible game. This one's a little different because it's not an action game. It's a proper RPG where you're making choices constantly. But if what you loved about Red Dead Redemption 2 was the feeling that the world responds to you, Baldur's Gate 3 takes that concept to a level no game has ever reached. You can talk your way through almost anything, you can sneak past it, you can blow the whole thing up. I've played through this game twice, and my second run looked completely different from my first. Different companions, different story beats, different ending. The companions have full arcs that genuinely make you care about them. Astarian's story alone is worth the price of admission. This is what games are supposed to feel like. Look, if you judged Cyberpunk 2077 at launch and never came back, you need to come back. What CD Projekt Red turned this game into is honestly one of the biggest redemption stories in gaming history. Night City is now one of the most alive, dense, breathtaking open worlds ever built. Every alley has a story. Every neon sign is part of a world that feels like it existed before you arrived and will keep existing after you leave. And the Phantom Liberty expansion, that's a full spy thriller with twists I genuinely did not see coming. If Red Dead Redemption 2 got you with its storytelling and its attention to detail in the world, Cyberpunk 2.0 does the exact same thing, just in the future.
Right, so imagine Red Dead Redemption 2, the slow horse rides, the cinematic beauty, the emotional story, but it's feudal Japan, and you're a samurai. That's Ghost of Tsushima. The game opens with Jin Sakai's entire clan getting destroyed by a Mongol invasion, and from that moment, you are locked in. The world is gorgeous. We're talking golden forests, blood-red autumn leaves, fields of white flowers. It genuinely looks like a painting. But what gets me is how it handles Jin's transformation. He's a samurai who has to become something the code he believes in would never allow. The conflict inside that character is so well done. And the combat? Chef's kiss. Every duel feels like a movie moment.
People kept telling me Elden Ring wasn't the same kind of game as Red Dead Redemption 2. And then I played it, and I understood nothing they said. This game grabbed me by the throat and did not let go for 80 hours. From Software took their brutal Dark Souls formula and dropped it into a massive open world that George R.R. Martin helped build, and you can feel his fingerprints everywhere. Every cave, every ruin, every castle has lore that makes you stop and go, wait, what? The combat is hard, yes, but every single death teaches you something. And when you finally beat a boss that's been humiliating you for 2 hours, that feeling is unlike anything else in gaming. Absolute must play. Okay, we're starting with the one game every single Red Dead Redemption 2 fan gets recommended, and for good reason. The Witcher 3 is 11 years old now, and it still makes modern open world games look lazy. You play as Geralt, a monster hunter for hire, but the monsters are honestly the least interesting thing in this world. The side quests alone have more soul than most games' entire main stories. There's one quest, just a side quest, about a haunted house that's so well written it genuinely messed me up. And the world reacts to everything you do. Weather changes, villages remember you, choices echo hours later. If you've somehow never played this, I don't know what you've been doing.
Nobody talks about this enough when they list great open world games, and it drives me crazy. Hideo Kojima made an open-world stealth game where the systems are so deep, so interconnected that you can spend 200 hours and still find mechanics you didn't know about. You're Big Boss, running a mercenary operation, infiltrating Soviet bases in Afghanistan. But how you infiltrate is entirely up to you. Balloons, tranquilizer darts, distractions, disguises, extracting enemy soldiers to recruit them. Every mission can be approached 100 different ways. And you're building a base, developing weapons, managing your resources between missions. The moment-to-moment gameplay is arguably the best pure feel of any open world game ever made. Criminally underrated in these conversations.
Fans asked Ubisoft for a game set in feudal Japan for years, like a decade of asking. Last year, they finally delivered it, and it's genuinely great. What makes Shadows special is the two protagonist system. Naoe is a kunoichi, fast, invisible, terrifying in the shadows. Yasuke is a real historical figure, an African samurai, built like a tank who just walks through walls of enemies. Switching between them completely changes how you approach every mission. The Japan they've built is their biggest, most detailed world yet. Seasons change, snow accumulates on rooftops, lighting shifts through rice paper screens. Is it the deepest story they've ever told? Probably not. Is the open world and the dual gameplay the best in the series? Absolutely.
Guerrilla Games took everything that worked in Zero Dawn and just kept building. Forbidden West is bigger, more ambitious, more visually stunning. The new machines are more complex, the combat has more options, and the map stretches from the ruins of San Francisco all the way into what used to be Nevada. They added underwater exploration, gliding, climbing gear, and crucially, they made Aloy's relationships with her companions actually feel warm and real. The story goes deeper into what's happening to the Earth and what the future holds, and by the end, you're genuinely invested in a planetary scale of stakes. If Zero Dawn made you a fan of this world, Forbidden West will make you obsessed with it. Essential sequel. how do you follow up what's arguably the greatest open world game ever made? You add building. Tears of the Kingdom gave Link abilities that let you fuse objects together, attach rockets to shields, build boats, flying machines, tanks, whatever your brain can come up with. And then they stacked a whole underground world beneath Hyrule and floating sky islands above it. 3 layers of open world. The main story is darker and more emotionally heavy than Breath of the Wild too. The opening alone hit different. What Tears of the Kingdom does is take everything you thought you knew about this world and flip it completely. Different game, better in almost every way. The fact that both Zelda games are on this list should tell you everything.
I need you to understand that when Breath of the Wild came out, it broke people's brains. We had never seen an open world that just let you go anywhere and do anything from minute 1. You see a mountain, climb it. You see a tower, figure out how to get up it. You see a shrine across a frozen lake. The game won't tell you how to cross it. You'll figure it out. And that moment you figure it out feels better than most games' ending cutscenes. Red Dead Redemption 2 makes you feel like a cowboy. Breath of the Wild makes you feel like an explorer. Pure, genuine discovery every single session. Even years later, people are still finding things in this game. That's how rich the world is.
Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't tell you where to go, doesn't fast travel you everywhere, doesn't guarantee you're strong enough for the next area. You wander into something you can't beat and you run. That's the game. The world is physical in a way most RPGs aren't. Bridges stay broken, NPCs have schedules. Night is genuinely dangerous and you can grab enemies mid-air and throw them off cliffs. The pawn system, where you hire AI companions that other players have made, is unlike anything else in gaming. And the big monsters? Fighting a griffin that takes off mid-battle and you have to chase it across the map while it bleeds. Nobody else is doing that. Wild, weird, brilliant game. Ubisoft gets dunked on a lot, sometimes fairly, but Odyssey is the game where they stopped making Assassin's Creed and started making something genuinely ambitious. Ancient Greece is one of the most spectacular open worlds ever built. We're talking Athens at its peak, the islands of the Aegean, the mountains of Sparta, naval combat across the Mediterranean. You play as either Cassandra or Alexios, and yes, Cassandra is the correct choice. Her voice acting is on another level. There are dialogue choices, full RPG mechanics, mythology questlines, and a mercenary system that puts bounty hunters on your trail if you cause too much chaos. For sheer scale, very few games touch it. Honestly, one of the most underrated open-world RPGs of the last decade.